We got the San Francisco 49ers versus the Seattle Seahawks. 49ers moving upward, looking better, dominated New England Patriots, ran right through them with their third string running back. Seattle Seahawks, tough loss last night. Russell Wilson, you never see him throw an interception like that. I'll say this about that game. It looked like, what's his face here? Kyler Murray looks like Russell Wilson did in his second year. I mean, Kyler Murray is like a little mini Russell Wilson Jr. The difference is Kyler Murray's got more support than Russell Wilson did back in his second year when he was with the Seattle Seahawks. I think they won the Super Bowl that year. But look, man, Arizona Cardinals, you got to be impressed with them. I don't think that was a bad loss. It was a painful loss, I'm sure, if you're a Seahawks fan. But who cares, man? 5-1. Who cares, right? 5-1. They had a bye week, right? They were 5-1 or 6-1, whatever. 49ers looking good. Can they compete with Seattle? I don't know. Good question. Let me get you with the fantasy football projections here. I do like Garoppolo this week. Is it JaMychal Hasty? Apparently, Shanahan came back and he said, hey, McKinnon, we were planning to rest him. Does that mean McKinnon's going to come off out of nowhere and go crazy? Jeff Wilson was supposed to be third on the depth chart this week. He comes and gets 3 touchdowns against the New Orleans. But anyway, David and I both like Hasty. I'll let you talk about Hasty a little bit more. At receiver, Debo went down with a hamstring. I think he's going to be out. I don't know if that's official yet. Hamstring, he's probably gone, which means you're back to Ayuk and Bourne as the receiving guys. I don't like that. Although the Seattle Seahawks defense gives up yardage. So there you go. George Kittle is a start for sure. Then we got Seattle. Wilson will come back. He'll be pissed that he threw that interception and blew the game. He'll be back. He'll play very well against San Francisco. They also have the weapons to match up well against San Francisco in the way that San Francisco's playing this year thanks to those injuries. We have, Carson. He went down with an injury. You might have more recent information than I do, David. It didn't look good when I saw him leave the field yesterday. So that means Hyde is my start there. Lockett played well, but DK Metcalf I like more this week coming in. And Greg Olsen, let me tell everybody, if you don't watch the games, you look at the stat sheet, Greg Olsen was literally about 3 feet away from having 2 touchdowns yesterday. He came down with 1 foot in bounds in the first half. Second foot wasn't. That call was overturned. And then in the back of the end zone, I think he had both feet. I'm talking seriously 3 feet away from having 2 touchdowns. Greg Olsen is about to pop. And I'm not going to say it's a season-long pop, but he's going to have some potential, especially as a daily fantasy type guy or a stream. Take it away, David.
We'll start where you left off with Seattle. There's not a whole lot to cover other than Carlos Hyde. He's a must start if Chris Carson misses time. And then you talk about we have another revenge game narrative. These past 2 weeks have just been revenge. Carlos Hyde, former 49er, going back and faces the 49ers. Who knows? Maybe he has a big game. If Carson's out, I'm absolutely starting him.
Yeah.
You say which San Francisco running back? Could it be JaMychal Hasty?
I hope so.
Yes, I sure hope so too, and I believe. Not only do I hope, I believe. Because
he's good. He is good.
And not just is he good, he is in a near perfect system. All right, I want to take you through the whole year real quick of what San Francisco 49ers running backs have done on a fantasy basis. Week 1, Raheem Mostert, 25.1 fantasy points. In the same game, Jerick McKinnon scored 13.4. That's 38 fantasy points for 2 running backs right there, week 1. Week 2, Mostert, 18.7. McKinnon, also 13.7. That's another 31 points for San Francisco running backs fantasy points. Week 3, McKinnon, 16.7. Jeff Wilson, 21.9. That's 39. I'm not great at math. I meant to math. That's at least 30 something. Again, 30 something fantasy points. Again, let's talk about week 4. Jerick McKinnon, 22.7 fantasy points. Week 5 in a blowout loss against Miami, Raheem Mostert, 14.9 fantasy points.
And I believe in one half, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a blowout, too. They were playing the backups the second half. Then we talk about it again. Not 2 weeks ago, Raheem Mostert was on his way to another big game. He had 9.6 points midway through the Rams game. He got hurt. Team turned to Jerick McKinnon, and JaMychal Hasty got his first chance where he took 9 carries for 37 yards. Then talk about again this past week. It was another blow-up game for a San Francisco 49er running back. Unfortunately, it wasn't Hasty. It was Jeff Wilson with 17 for 112 and 3 touchdowns. But Jeff Wilson's hurt, guys. he sprained his ankle, and he's going to miss a few weeks. He's probably going on IR too.
Mm-hmm.
Deebo Samuel's hurt. Raheem Mostert's on IR. You talked about McKinnon. They were planning to rest him. Why are you resting a guy in week 7? That's not a good sign. I loved Jerick McKinnon, but I'm willing to admit he's a guy who hadn't played in 2 years, coming off multiple ACL reconstructions. So if they're resting him and he's maybe having soreness, whatever, he's tired, I don't know what it is, but it ain't good, at least not for him. Who is it good for? It's good for JaMychal Hasty, who took 9 carries for 57 yards this past game with a 20-yarder. He's shown explosiveness. He is a freak athlete.
Power.
39-inch vertical, which is among the tops in the combine performance for running backs this past year. 4.03 shuttle. That is unbelievable quickness. Unbelievable quickness. For reference, Saquon and CMC were both in the 4.2s for the shuttle time.
Wow.
Hasty 4.03. So this guy is quick. He's got lower body explosiveness. You can see if he plants and gets upfield, he's ready to go. He runs hard. We talked about it last week. When he plants, he wants to go. And this team is going to need him to carry the load, especially when you talk about it's Kittle. And I do like Ayuk a lot, especially against Seattle. He just had 6 for 115 receiving this past week. Debo's out. I think Ayuk is a top 15 play this week against Seattle.
Any notes on Seattle? I do want to talk about Hasty just a bit, but do you have anything on Seattle before I swing it back over there?
I think you covered it all.
Yeah. Hasty, I said it last week when I saw him against the Rams, and I still believe this. And I said this 2 to 3 years ago when I saw Mostert, and I said Mostert's the best running back on this team. He's going to be the starter there. I don't know how long it's going to take, but Hasty will be the starter there. If you're in a dynasty or a keeper league where you're keeping more than 5 or 6 players a year every year, pick him up. He needs to be rostered now anyway. Pick him up. He is so good. He's a perfect fit for this system. The only reason he didn't score 3 touchdowns and go for 150 yards is because they gave the carries to Jeff Wilson this week. San Francisco supports. Their offense is so good that they support basically any running back they can plug and play. But Hasty is uniquely talented. That's the difference here. Mostert was uniquely talented because he can see how fast he is. But when you pair, I believe what will happen in 2021 is you're going to get Mostert and Hasty together paired up. And I got to be honest with you, he's better than McKinnon now. I don't know how the staff and everything's going to shake out for the rest of the year, but I believe in 2021 you're going to see Hasty handle most of the in-between stuff. We're going to see Mostert split out, and Hasty's going to be kind of the tougher runner there. And these are the running backs for the future for the San Francisco 49ers. And Mostert's getting older too. He's like 28. So next year he's going to be league age 29. Hasty's the guy there, everybody. I think, and eventually Mostert will go away. It'll be Hasty and maybe Jeff Wilson if they keep him around.
And I think if you're in Dynasty and you got 1 or 2 third-round picks and you're willing to take a chance on upside, you could probably have JaMychal Hasty for a third-round rookie pick right now. This might be the last week you'd be able to get him at that price.
Yeah, agreed. Let me hit you with the line here, man. We got San Francisco. This is a great matchup. Because I truly don't know what's going to happen. Seattle's reasonable against the run. It's the pass that's killed them. So I don't know what we're going to get. You made the point about Ayuk being the top 15 play. I mean, analytically speaking, I think you're dead on there. But is that going to be reality? I don't know. But we have San Francisco. Bovada has at +4 versus San Francisco. San Francisco's +4 versus Seattle this week. Who do you have?
Well, just want to hit on Ayuk too, because I believe not only is it going to be as a receiver, like you said, that's Seattle's weakness. With Debo out, we saw earlier in the season, they are going to get Ayuk touches on reverses. They want those reverses. We saw it against New England. Short little, basically it's a pass because he pitches it forward 2 yards ahead of him. Ayuk is going to get those Debo Samuel carries in addition to the receiving work. I'm taking Seattle here, though, just because I think they're going to play like they really want it coming off a tough loss against the Cardinals.
I think this is going to be a great game. Both teams Seattle coming off the loss. I always love really good teams coming off a loss against the spread. I have this game. I actually wrote down the score is a push. It was right on that 4 line. If I'm going to take one, I'm going to take Seattle just because, 1, Russell Wilson is still my MVP this year. 2, coming off a loss, a painful loss. They're going to come back and play San Francisco inside the division, but it's going to be a close game. San Francisco is playing really good football now. They've adjusted with their massive and crippling injuries. Going to be a fun one to watch. Last game.